Welcome to the Wealth Embodied podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Faringer, an attorney, spiritual guide, and wealth activator. I'm here to help you align your mindset for abundance and break through any glass ceilings with money. If you're ready to embrace your highest calling, manifest with more ease, and create a life that feels lighter and more aligned, then let's dive in. Hello, I hope you're having an amazing day. My name is Brianna. I'm the host of the Wealth Embodied podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to go over some statements today, some ways that we talk to ourselves, ways that I constantly hear people talk to themselves, that if you start to become aware of them and shift them will make a really big difference in your life. It's something I see all the time, and I know you probably hear me say this on every episode, but there's a lot of things that I see over and over again, and I will often see patterns, and when I have patterns continue to pop up, I usually will address them here because I know that if they are affecting the people I'm seeing regularly, I know that they're affecting most people. And the things that I'm going to go over today are things that I am certain most every single person is doing, unless you are a millionaire. Or even if you are a millionaire, you may still be doing this because if you have beliefs and mindsets and patterns that you have been utilizing your entire life, when you get more money, you'll still continue to have these same habits and patterns and mindsets around money more often than not, which is why people say money doesn't buy happiness. But I'm going to just go over a couple of statements and get into why they are bad, why they are not helpful, why shifting them can make a big difference, and some other related items, which is about taking action. So here's a couple of the statements. I don't have money. I can't afford that. Those two are things I don't even have in my vocabulary anymore. I will occasionally catch myself thinking them, and I'll tell you why, because it's so ingrained in me to say things like that sometimes. But the reality is that more often than not, I find people actually do have money for something. They're just choosing not to use it for the thing that they're talking about. And I'm going to go into more detail on that so you understand what I'm saying. But I have habitually had this belief that I didn't have money, even though I did, even at times where I had more than enough money to do everything I wanted. And so telling yourself that you don't have money, it's usually a story. Sometimes it's a fact. Sometimes it's actually the truth of what is happening in your life. But just because it is the truth does not mean that you need to continue to focus on, I don't have. And so I'm going to get into that too. So two of the biggest ones I would say are, I don't have money or I can't afford that. The other one is, I don't have time. I've talked about this in another episode, and if you didn't catch that one, I do recommend listening to it because that is a really, really big place where a lot of people are expressing lack in their life. And a lack mindset or a scarcity mindset is the opposite of an abundant mindset. If you have a scarcity mindset about anything, time, money, friendship, love, health, whatever the thing is, you are going to be continuing to live in lack or patterns of lack in other places in your life. So expressions of I don't have time, yes, they affect money. Everything affects money. All of the things that you're doing every single day affect money, whether you realize it or not. Your relationships, the things that you're saying to yourself. When you are constantly living in lack around time or something else, it will affect the way that you approach money, even if you don't recognize it. I am guaranteeing it. Money reflects back to us all the other areas in our life that are already needing or wanting to be healed. It shows us the patterns and the places where we can do things differently to bring in more financial abundance and other abundance into our lives. Another statement that I hear people say, and I catch myself doing this too sometimes, is, oh, I'm bad at that. I'm bad at that. Or I'm bad with money. There's this story that people have, I'm bad with money or I'm irresponsible with money. Stop saying that. You are only bad at money or irresponsible with money if you continue to tell yourself that. Differently, if you say something like, I'm not bad at money, I just haven't learned the skills I need to be better with it, that's a true statement. But when you're constantly telling yourself, I'm bad at this, I'm bad at X, You are continuing to stay in that mindset. Number one, you're going to continue to draw circumstances, people, experiences into your life that will perpetuate the belief that you are bad at something. I see this pattern often. People will have a subconscious belief that they are bad at money. So when they start getting more money, they will do things to sabotage themselves, or they will do things where they will go out and spend a bunch of money on other people because it doesn't feel safe for them to have the amount of money that they have, because they have told themselves they're bad at it. So then they find ways to spend it and they keep themselves in the same place. So instead of saying you're bad at something, come up with something else. Excuse me. If you're saying I'm bad, or like you're saying you're bad at relationships, you're not bad at relationships. If you continue to tell yourself that, you're going to be bad at relationships. Differently, say something like, I want to be a better communicator with the people in my life. Something else, just anything else, so that when you hear your mind, is whether you're saying it in your mind or you're saying it out loud, I'm bad at X, you instead come up with a different sentence that you're like, oh, I'm saying this instead. And the more you continue to do that, the more you will rewire your brain to not only stop saying that, but to do things differently and to feel differently in your body. But I want to go back to the I don't have money or I can't afford that. The thing that people really struggle with is they think that because that's the reality of something that's happening in their life, they don't have the opportunity to think something differently. That's absolutely not true. You have the power over every single thought that goes through your mind. We allow circumstances that are happening around us to dictate how we feel. And it is never about the circumstance or the event that's happening in our lives. It's about the way that we are perceiving it. Excuse me. So if you don't have money for something, let's just say you are going through a very bad financial place in your life, or maybe you've just felt like you've never had money. Continuing to focus on that is going to continue to bring circumstances in your life that show you don't have money. So I say this all the time. Worrying is like praying for what you don't want to happen. When you focus on what you don't want, you get more of it. Another way of saying this is when you focus on something, you are watering that plant, and that plant's going to grow. So when you're giving energy to something that you do not want to be happening in your life, which is you don't have money, the more you focus on it, the more you tell yourself you don't have money, the more you are watering that plant, and it's going to grow. So stop doing that, please. I don't care if that's the truth of your situation. Maybe you don't have money. Maybe you are in such a bad financial situation you have no idea how you're going to get out of it. There's two ways to get out of it. Number one, changing your mindset. Number two, taking action. You pair those together and your circumstances can change miraculously. If you just start changing your mindset, it will completely change how you feel about the circumstances that are going on in your life, because it's not about the circumstances, it's about our perception of them. So instead of saying, I don't have money, say something like, I'm doing more things to make myself get more money. Let's just say that you're looking for new jobs or you're trying to take action or something like that. Come up with another statement like, I'm trying to make more money, instead of saying, I don't have money. Instead of saying I don't have money or I can't afford that, say I'm choosing not to spend my money on that. I don't care if you have the money to spend on it or not. You need a different story. A lot of the things that are going on in our minds are not true. And this happens all the time when I'm working with people. They will be living their life by these beliefs or these rules or what I call stories. And then I will ask them if the thing that they are worried about has ever happened, and they will tell me no. Which is kind of funny because they are living their life based on something that has never even happened. It's just a story that they made up and they decided they were going to live in alignment with it. So it doesn't matter if the thing that you're telling yourself is true or not. Come up with something that's helpful to you. This is what I tell people. If a lot of what's going on in your mind is not true anyway, come up with something that helps you, not something that is costing you. So instead of saying, I don't have money, say, I'm choosing not to spend my money on that today. I don't care if it's true or not. Most of the time that is true though, by the way, I will tell you. There's no doubt that there are people that don't have money and that there are people getting by day to day. Those are not the clients that come see me. So I'm not dealing with people who are in poverty or full-blown scarcity. Those are not my clients. They are somebody's clients, but they are not mine. Most often, the people that I am working with have money for most everything that they want or need. They are choosing to spend it differently. So what I will find is sometimes people will say, oh, I don't have money for that. Well, they actually do, right? They may not, at the moment that we're speaking, have, let's just say that a friend comes up to them and wants to, like, oh my gosh, I want to go on this vacation. It's such a good deal. We've been talking about going this place. I'm going to go. It's $5,000. And the person is like, oh, I can't afford that. Okay, maybe the reality is that person doesn't have $5,000 in their checking account today. That might be true. However, I will tell you this is what I find most often. People have credit cards. I'm not telling you to go put something on a credit card, but I'm just telling you, you do have access to money if you have a credit card. So you're just choosing not to put the vacation on a credit card. That's fine. That's a choice. But don't tell yourself you don't have money when you have access to money. When you have money sitting in a savings account, don't say you don't have access to money. You do. Of course, a savings account is usually for emergencies, or maybe somebody's saving for a specific purpose, a house, a retirement, having children, college, whatever the thing is. But you have access to money if you had to get it. So stop saying you don't have money, right? I'm just trying to get people to look at their reality a little bit differently, because a lot of times I'll hear people saying they don't have money and they actually have access to money. They're just choosing not to spend their money on that thing. Start saying that. I'm just choosing not to spend my money on that right now. So if that friend came to me and said that, I wouldn't say, oh, I can't afford to do that. I would just say, oh, this isn't a great time. I'd love to go in the future. That is a true statement. You see the difference? Whereas if I'm saying I can't afford, that is lack. When you are focusing on lack anytime, no matter what it is, it will get you into a lack mindset. That's why it's just practice. This is all practice. So come up with one statement that you are going to start saying from now on. When you catch yourself saying, I can't afford that, come up with a statement. Write it down on a Post-it note. Put it on your steering wheel, put it on your bedside table, put it on the mirror in your bathroom, put it on your coffee maker, put it on your computer, put it on a place that you go by every day, and keep reminding yourself, I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm not going to say I can't afford or I don't have. I'm going to say this instead. You just need one statement. It's super easy. Because when you keep doing that and practicing it, you will rewire your brain and your body. And when you're changing the way that your body feels, it changes the things that are magnetizing to you or are attracted to you. So I just really want people to look at what's going on in their lives and recognize where they are maybe doing some things that are sabotaging them or not helpful to them. And I represent taxpayers against the IRS, and I see a lot of different financial circumstances. I see a very wide range of financial circumstances. I see a lot of people's finances, their assets, their income, their expenses. And I will tell you, more often than not, people will tell me that they don't have money to pay the IRS. By the way, this is not about the IRS, but I'm just using this as an example. They will tell me that they don't have money to pay the IRS, and then I'll go through their finances and I'm like, oh boy, they've got a lot of leftover money at the end of the month. Well, that happens sometimes because, number one, they've told themselves they don't want to make room to pay back this particular debt. So they have a story that they don't have money, right? And it's because they would rather use that money for something else. Fine. I would rather use my money to do something other than pay the IRS also. But unfortunately, the inevitable is that we do have to pay taxes in the current system that we are in. And so if I'm telling myself I don't have the money to do it, I'm going to keep myself in that place. What I find is that a lot of people tell me they don't have money to pay the IRS, and then I go through their finances and I go through it and show them all the numbers I came up with, and they're shocked. It's because a lot of people are not paying attention to how much money they're spending on things. That's a lifestyle choice. And this is, by the way, not criticizing anybody that owes the IRS money. I'm just using this as an example for another place that I constantly see people telling me they don't have money. And I'm like, oh, you actually do, right? Sometimes I'll see people who have a lot of money. and a lot of assets, but they just don't want to spend their money on this thing. They're choosing to spend their money on other things, and that's perhaps sometimes why they've gotten into the scenario they've gotten into, not always. But I'm just saying this because most people have money to do the things that they want to do. Most often, if they don't have it, it's a choice. So I just ask you to consider that as an option when you're saying to yourself, I don't have money for something, or I can't afford that. That's a story a lot of the times. The other thing I will say, I'll have people tell me that they don't have money and they are taking action to make more money, like maybe they have their own business. But if somebody really, really wanted to make more money, there's an infinite number of ways to make money, particularly nowadays online and with the amount of, ride sharing, grocery delivery, all like Amazon, all of these different ways that you can make money nowadays. If somebody really wanted to make more money, they could go out and get another job tomorrow. They can. You just don't want to do that thing. And I think there needs to be some recognition of that also. Do I want to work as a rideshare driver? I don't. That to me would not be a very interesting thing to do. But would I do it if I had to, or if I was in a situation where I felt like I had no money and I didn't have another choice? Of course I would. Of course I would. And so if I'm in a situation where I'm saying, I don't have money, I don't have money, I don't have money, and I'm not willing to go out and do some of the things that could get me money, that's a choice. That's not, I don't have money. That's, I am choosing to make money doing X, or just recognizing the true circumstances of where you're at is incredibly important, because most of the time people don't have money, or most of the time if people want to make money, they could go get it very quickly. If you think that you can't get a job today, you're wrong. It doesn't take that long to get a job if you really, really wanted to make money. You could probably, I see people post, I'm in a bunch of different community groups. I see people post things all the time that are like, hey, I have to move tomorrow unexpectedly. I'll pay people $50 an hour to come help me move. Do I want to help people move? No, I don't. But if I was in a situation where I didn't have money, would I do it? Absolutely, I would. I've had tons of jobs over the years. My first job was cleaning bathrooms, locker rooms at a gym when I was 15. That is not a job I would want to do today, but I would do it if I had to. And so I think just please recognize when you're saying you don't have money and you are choosing to only make money doing certain things. The reason I'm bringing this up, it's not a criticism about the life that you have. It's not a criticism about what you are and are not choosing to do. It's about looking at your reality, what's actually happening, and saying, am I saying these things to myself because they're actually true? I don't have money. I can't make money. I can't afford this. Or am I in this situation because of the mindset that I have and because of the actions I'm not taking? Right? And so what I cover a lot on here is mindset, but there's a huge component which is taking action. If somebody was in a situation today where they really needed to make money, I would tell them, do something, find a job where you can start making money. And another thing I will tell people when they're telling me they don't have money, particularly when they own their own business, if you're in a situation where you own your own business and you're not making money, there's a lot of merit to getting an income stream that provides regular monthly income, because it will make you feel safer in your body. Having that knowledge, that knowing that you are going to have X amount of dollars coming in every month, no matter what is happening in your business, is such a valuable feeling. I cannot even tell you. And so if I'm working with a business owner and they're telling me they're struggling in their business, the question I always ask them is, are you willing to get a job? And most of them say yes, but the thing is they haven't done that. So that says to me, they're not in a bad enough place that they're willing to do that. Some people are, but I just am pointing that out because we create these stories and these things that we say to ourselves, I don't have money, I don't have clients, I'm not doing well. But we won't sometimes do the thing that needs to be done to change our reality, which is taking action That can be sometimes doing things that we don't want to do, or sometimes we didn't think we were going to have to do, and just changing your thought pattern. Instead of saying, I don't have money, say, I'm choosing not to spend my money on that right now. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, say, I'm going to be able to afford that in the future. Or again, just say, I'm choosing not to spend my money on that thing right now. You can also say, I'm going to do everything I can to start making money. I'm going to learn other skills. There's an infinite number of statements you could come up with, but I'm giving you ones that are very easy. You have to find one that you can get behind. The story around time, that one to me just really gets me. Everyone has time for the things that they choose to make time for. So if you are constantly telling yourself you don't have time for things, yes, you do. You just are spending your time in ways that may not align with your priorities. And I've done a whole podcast episode on this, and this is something I'll probably bring up over and over again because it plagues most people. We make ourselves feel like we don't have time, or things will happen in our lives that make us feel like we don't have time. Time is a fiction. Our perception of time is what makes us feel like we don't have enough of it. So instead of saying, I don't have time, say, I'm choosing not to spend my time on that today. That's a true statement. And if you don't realize that that's a true statement, I would say you need to really start to think about that and why you don't think that. If you don't have time for something, it's just because you're not prioritizing it. It's as simple as that. I know that will trigger some people, but it is the reality. You make time for the things that you want to make time for. If there are friends that you don't see in your life, it's because you are not making time to spend time with them, or they are not making time to spend time with you. If you don't have time to exercise, it's because you are not making time to do it, or perhaps you have a belief that you have to exercise a minimum amount of time instead of just trying to get 5 to 10 minutes in every day. So there's a ton of different beliefs that people have and stories that they are living by. Like sometimes people will say, I don't have time for this thing because they think they need to dedicate an hour to it. What if you only dedicate 5 minutes to it? And if you instead of like not doing the thing every single day for an extended period of time, if you started doing it for 5 minutes a day, you'd at least be doing some of it as opposed to none of it. This is the thing, is people don't realize that making these micro changes in their lives actually add up to make the biggest difference in the long run. But we think, oh, I have to devote an hour to exercise. Said who? Who created that rule? Nobody. Exercise can be done in 5 minutes. It would be better for you to exercise 5 minutes every single day than to tell yourself, I can't find an hour in my day, and then not do it at all. Same thing with reading. I used to believe that I had to sit down and read a chapter of a book at a time. I don't need to do that. I try to tell myself, if I sit down and read a book, I want to try to read 10 pages. This morning, I read 3 pages. But I want to read. That's something I want to do, and I want to make a priority in my life. I don't have to sit down and read for an hour. I can read a couple pages, and then like maybe later today, if I feel like I have a few minutes, I'll read a couple more pages. That there is nothing wrong with incorporating things in your life in small bits, small little pieces, because the more you start to incorporate habits into your life, the more they become bigger parts of your life, particularly if they're a priority for you. If you're telling yourself you're bad at something, the only reason you're bad at something is because you haven't practiced enough to become good at it. You can become good at anything. Anything. You just need to practice. This is the thing that people don't realize. They think that they're just bad at something, and that's just who they are. Not true. There are very few things in our life that we can't change. Some things we can't change, but most everything can be changed. If you think you're bad at money, no, you're not. You just need to start to learn some things about money that can help you change your perception about you being bad about it. You just need to learn it. If I say like I'm bad at a sport, I know I could become good at it if I practiced and I put my mind to it. I choose not to. Like there's some sports that I have absolutely no interest in. Please do not take offense to this if you are in one of these sports, but like softball and soccer do not interest me in the slightest. And I'm not good at them. You know why? Because I don't care and I don't have any interest in being good at them. But if I wanted to, I know I could become good at them because I picked up every other sport I have ever done in my life because I've just put my mind to it and I practice. This is the same with money and with everything else in your life. You're not bad at relationships. You're not bad at managing money. You're not irresponsible with money. You just haven't been given the skills or taken the time to learn the things that you need to learn, and you can change that at any point in time. So I hope that this is helpful for you. please start to become aware of where this is happening. I promise you, if you just stop saying, I don't have money or I can't afford that, and just come up with a different statement, that is going to make a huge, huge, huge difference in your life over time. It may not change things right away, but it will if you just keep practicing and keep rewiring yourself to think differently. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye. Hey, before you go, would you love to receive my 3-step masterclass to easily create and hold wealth for free? It's called Effortless Money, and it includes the exact framework to start attracting money effortlessly and manifesting abundance with more ease. If you want it for free, all you have to do is leave an honest review of the Wealth Embodied podcast, take a screenshot of this episode and put it in your Instagram stories and tag me at Brianna_Faringer, and we will send you the free Effortless Money Masterclass. This is how my clients have manifested a $13,000 check, a promotion resulting in a $30,000 salary increase, and significantly improved relationships. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time on the Wealth Embodied podcast.